Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today's mission is, well, we are tackling a truly wild research paper. It basically mashes up high-energy physics, clinical ophthalmology, and of all things, biblical history.
Yeah, it's quite the combination.
Right. And we're looking at a massive question for you today, like, what if an ancient miracle was actually a measurable physical event? Specifically, we're exploring if the Apostle Paul's famous blindness on the road to Damascus was a 34 terawatt radiation burn.
Which is just an unimaginable amount of energy. To put that power in perspective, you have to imagine, say, a standard 60-watt light bulb.
Okay, a normal light bulb, just a localized, predictable amount of heat and light.
Exactly. Now scale that up to 34 terawatts. We are talking about the power of 1,010,000-watt searchlights, and all of that flashing in a fraction of a nanosecond. I mean, standard physics just completely goes out the window here.
Okay, let's unpack this. To figure out what kind of light could hit Paul's eyes with that much force, the paper says we need to look at another artifact, right?
Yeah, the researchers argue we have to look at a forensic artifact that supposedly recorded the exact same type of radiation, and that is the Shroud of Turin.
Ah, right, the famous burial cloth. I know the paper points out the image on it isn't actually painted.
Right, there is absolutely no paint. The discoloration sits just 200 nanometers deep on the linen fibers. And creating that specific microscopic burn requires a massive vacuum ultraviolet burst. Or, VUV for short.
Wow.
Yeah, it's that 34 terawatt flash you mentioned earlier, lasting literally 1/40 billionth of a second. It's honestly so intense that an oral surgeon, Dr. John Sotosanti, found what looks like a literal X-ray of lower human teeth encoded right beneath the mustache of the image.
Wait, I really have to stop you there. An X-ray of teeth, like a human body acting like a high-speed radiographic flashbulb.
It sounds crazy, I know.
How on earth does a biological body emit 34 terawatts without instantly vaporizing into ash?
Well, what's fascinating here is the researchers call this the burning bush paradigm. It's this immense emission of light, but it's entirely stripped of thermal heat. So it's a cold photochemical energy.
But how? Kinetic energy usually creates heat.
Right, but they hypothesize this happens due to the propelled re-entry of the silver cord.
It's a silver cord. You've got to explain that one to me like I'm 5. Because, that sounds totally sci-fi.
Sure, it does. Think of it as a transdimensional tether reconnecting with the biological host. When that connection snaps back into the body, it's not physical atoms rubbing together to create friction.
Right.
It's a dimensional shift where the energy bleeds off entirely as pure high-frequency photons light, basically, rather than thermal agitation.
Oh, I see. So you get the massive flash, but completely without the fire.
Precisely. It's a burst of pure, cold radiation.
Here is where it gets really interesting for me. Bring this back to Paul in the book of Acts. If he's standing on the road looking directly at a walking VUV radiation source, why wasn't his face just melted off?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that comes down to distance and atmospheric physics. Vacuum ultraviolet radiation is highly reactive. That means it gets absorbed by molecular oxygen almost immediately.
So the air itself blocked it.
Exactly. As that light traveled from the source to Paul, the atmosphere acted as a heavy filter. By the time the beam actually hit his face, the air had downscattered that extreme VUV into UVB and UVC rays.
Okay, less lethal, sure, but that's still incredibly dangerous to an unprotected eye.
Absolutely catastrophic for the eyes. That nanosecond pulse brevity combined with the atmospheric filter saved his life, but it gave him a severe case of photokeratitis.
Which is basically extreme UV snow blindness.
Yeah, exactly. Those high-energy photons slammed into his corneas. They physically broke the chemical bonds in the tissue and immediately halted all cellular division.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now?
Well, the text in Acts notes Paul was blind for exactly 3 days. And then it says scales fell from his eyes. Right. And clinically, if you get a severe UV burn on your corneas, it triggers a very specific biological clock. It takes exactly 72 hours for your basal stem cells to regenerate that eye tissue.
That timing is just incredible.
It really is. And the Greek word used in the historical text is lepis, which literally means a flake or scale. In modern ophthalmology, we call this corneal desquamation.
Which means?
It's just the dead, irradiated epithelial cells sloughing off in opaque flakes.
It's literally like a peeling sunburn, but on the surface of your actual eyes.
Yeah, exactly like that.
That makes the whole thing so relatable and tangible. It's not some magic spell wearing off. The text is describing a literal medical pathology running its standard 72-hour healing cycle.
Right. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the shroud was essentially a permanent linen radiograph. Meanwhile, Paul's eyes acted as a temporary biological dosimeter. We have two completely different materials supposedly recording the exact same high-energy physics event.
It's just wild to think about. We started by picturing that impossible 34 terawatt flash bulb, and it turns out human biology might just be the ultimate measurement tool to show it happened.
It really makes you rethink those ancient texts.
It really does. It leaves you with a pretty massive question to mull over, honestly. If this transphysical state is a permanent, biologically continuous reality radiating higher dimensional energy, what other seemingly impossible historical events are just waiting for us to develop the right scientific tools